Jerry West joining us here. During the commercial break, as Will Ferrell's leaving, and Will was nervous about meeting Jerry West, and he says, "Could you please come back to the Lakers?" Is that tampering, Jerry, that what Will Ferrell just did to have you come back to the Lakers?
Well, it's kind of I have a bunch of people always say that to me, but I think my days of long-term future in basketball is probably well behind me, and obviously I'm still involved with the Warriors, and I do follow with interest the Lakers because that's where I started my life as a player, and more importantly, I think the real formative years of my life when maybe I found out that I could do something a little bit different instead of being a dumb athlete. And had a great fortune to work for this franchise for so many years, and now I'm working for a franchise that's great to be with, and a lot of wonderful people, and maybe the best group of young men I've ever seen in my life playing on one team.
And no drama.
No drama. But Dan, as you're well aware, social media sometimes creates a lot of drama, and actually I think it puts more pressure on not only teams, executives, ownership, because at the end of the year, there's only going to be one team that's really going to be satisfied. And we played last night. I saw us play last night. We weren't great. Oklahoma City wasn't great, but you watch that, and it does take a little piece out of you because this time of year, this is when franchises have a chance to go out and establish something really special. We won a championship last year. And our challenges are completely different this year, completely different. And didn't get much sleep last night after that game.
Yeah. Were you more competitive as a player or a GM?
Dan, it's a really great question. And I'll tell you what's a great question because as a player, you have a routine. And that routine daily, mine never changed for years. I mean, I was superstitious. I'd drive to a game one way. I don't care if it was a 100-car pileup. I was not getting off of that route. Okay, that's how superstitious I was. But as an executive, it's completely different because you are overseeing highly skilled, probably most of them highly motivated, but again, some completely different personalities. And how you sort of have a level playing field in a locker room is to have really good guys and people to understand their roles. And today in this league, we get so many young kids, and agents are a big part. This guy needs to play. He needs to play. He may not be ready to play right now. And as you mentioned tonight, the lottery. Everyone's so everyone's so excited about the lottery. Many of those kids are not going to be able to play for 3 or 4 years, and some of them may not make it at all.
Yeah.
So this is an exciting time for teams that haven't had much success, but also, if you're the Lakers there, I know they're on pins and needles. If they would lose their pick, it would be devastating. Obviously, I hope they don't. And so there's so much more on the plate.
But you were able to play, and it's different. As a GM, you can only watch. So your competition is, have I put the best lineup on the floor? But as a player, you're on the floor to be able to control the outcome a little bit more.
Well, Dan, I think depending upon your place on a team, some players play the game obviously at a very high level. One basketball player, can make an enormous difference in the success of a team. But I think more importantly, to try to acquire that player, and if he's a great guy, if he's a leader, it makes your job so much easier. But if you don't have the pieces around that player, I don't care who your coach is. The Lakers are working on their 5th coach since 2011. And my best guess is if you look in a mirror, and this is no criticism of them, it's about the players. You have to have the right coach for the right team. But if you don't give a coach enough talent to work with, they're not going to be successful. And this league is hard. I've always said the most competitive people play the most competitive games. And this is a hard league to excel for a number of years of time. And you build a legacy, you build a legacy of a great franchise, by being very consistent over a number of years. And I think the expectation level here in Los Angeles the last few years has been not good, way too high for the talent they had at hand.
How do you think Jerry Buss would react to what's going on with the Lakers?
You know, there were certain facets of Jerry that had the ability to adapt. Would he like what he's watching? No, he would not like it. And he was very, very easy to work with in terms of, but you had to be honest with him. You can't go in there and tell someone, and I believe that's the most important thing when you're working with people, to have an honest, open relationship with them. They have a right to criticize you. Everyone has a right to participate if they're in the right position in the league. Coaches, general managers, some of the scouts who go out and do the grunt work. I think it's really important that they have an input in what you're doing. And you have a right to disagree, but the most important thing is to have a common goal. And that common goal, how can we have the best possible team that will represent us for not 1 or 2 years, but we'll have a 5 or 6 year period when they can really be good. As you're well aware of free agency, and I hear all this talk about free agency, and if I were a couple of teams, and without mentioning them, I would be furious that my players would be mentioned out there. This player is going to go this place, he's going to go to someone else. I'd be furious. I don't think it's fair to the teams. It's all started by players' interactions with each other. These players are friends, Dan, and they create all the controversy. And you think at this time of year, if a player is a free agent, unrestricted free agent, and they're trying to win a championship, and his name is constantly out there, if I were a player, I'd get tired of hearing it. I would really get tired of hearing it, because you want to concentrate on the task at hand and try to win games. And every game you play now, watching the Warriors play last night, I said, oh my gosh, how can we play this poorly with having a few days off? Oklahoma City didn't play great last night. And I think we shot 16 out of 44 in the second half of the game. They mauled us on the boards. They kept so many extra possessions. Our defense was really good. Our 2 leading rebounders, Steph Curry, had 10, and Klay Thompson had 9. That's not a good stat.
Your backcourt.
That's not a good stat. And they just lived at the free throw line. They won the game at the free throw line, and they didn't play their best, and we certainly didn't play our best. So now all the pressure's on us again. We win 73 games. Don't think we'll ever see that again in our lifetime. If you don't win now, the off season would be a horrible catastrophe in this sense, that they need to do this, they need to do that. Well, we don't need to do very much. We have a really good team. You have to give Oklahoma City a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Internally, their front office, Sam Presti, has bought some very, very impressive young players. They made a great deal with Utah to get Enes Kanter, and he and the Adams kid have just dominated the boards in this series. You cannot give that team extra possessions, and we did that last night, and it paid off for them, because when we missed, that would be a chance for us to run. Couldn't get the rebound. They pounded the boards. I think they outshot us at the free throw line by double. That was the outcome of the game.
Key stat last night, the Thunder averaging 15 second chance points per game in the 2016 playoffs. That's the most of any team last night. Oklahoma City had 15 second chance points in that Game 1 win. Jerry West staying with us. We had Will Ferrell in before, and I know you guys got a chance to say hello to one another, but he brought up an interesting story. He said, the logo, the NBA logo, is you dribbling. Well, we're led to believe it's you dribbling. The NBA doesn't say that it's you. But he said the ball goes off your foot the next frame, like they show you dribbling. Is that true?
It is true. They have a guy with a net over there catching it. Of course.
Oh, they did.
So it wouldn't hit someone in the first row.
But I think you went up for a jumper right after that, didn't you? Do you even remember that play?
No, it was a drive.
It was a drive.
Right, yes.
Did you make it? I mean, if that's you as the logo, do you remember?
Dan, I made a few shots in my career, but I also took a few shots.
Yeah, you did. You did. When people talk about Steph Curry, we always love to compare to somebody. And I heard a lot of people say, well, he's sort of like a more disciplined Pete Maravich. Now, you played against Maravich, and I don't know, Pete had great range, great handle, bigger than Steph, but is there any comparison there?
None whatsoever.
Okay.
None whatsoever.
All right.
And the difference is Pete could not shoot the ball like him, period. He could not. This is maybe the premier shooter I've ever seen in my life. And the thing that makes him unique, he doesn't really play the game with finesse or force. You're around him, he's a normal-sized guy. But he is really a competitor. And the other thing is he's a shot maker. You know, and when I call a shot maker, guys on the run, eat little floaters, lobs off the board. And to be around him has been a great thrill for me, to see a kid who's this good, this unassuming, this grounded, and you walk in the locker room with him, you don't know that this is a two-time MVP, back-to-back years. You don't even know that. His parents have done an unbelievable job, not only with him, but their other children. And for the Warriors to have someone like him, forget his play. His voice, his presence is truly unique among athletes. I've never been around a nicer athlete in my life. I love the fact that he's so competitive. You don't see him going in there dunking ball, jumping all over the place. He just plays the game. I mean, he's tremendous. He's going to get better too, by the way.
But any concerns? He does show confidence, swagger out there. Not theatrical, but looking at the bench or backing up as he takes the shot and going down to the other end. You got a problem with that?
I saw something happen in baseball. And baseball is so much tradition. I mean, for years and years, everyone talks about stats, and I think you're a big baseball fan yourself. I had to have a little fun. The thing that I most dislike about today's game, if a team is getting beat by 25 points and you've got your star players sitting over there laughing on the sideline, if I was the executive running that team, that person would be in my office the next day. And I want to know what's so damn funny. It's not, this is serious.
Is this the team losing or the team winning?
The team losing.
So if they're laughing over there.
I don't like that at all. I think it shows a disrespect for the game and for people playing that. But if you watch the NBA, it has changed so much over the years. It's about entertainment. Dan, the rules are so relaxed, okay? They are just so relaxed. I think it's easier to score now than it's ever been in the history of basketball. And that's why we see the game changing a little bit, the three-point line changing. Twice last night, we had wide-open layups late in the game, and we choose to shoot a three. Yeah. Of course, we didn't make it. Those 4 points would have put us ahead. I think they're on back-to-back possession. Those 4 points would have made a layup for us. I mean, would have made us up by one in the game. I don't particularly like that. I always think you should throw the ball ahead if a guy's got a layup. Now, if it's Curry or Thompson shooting it, you feel a lot better about it. But I just see this enormous change in the league. I think it's going to get more and more like this. It's almost like the spread offenses in football, and particularly in down the Southwest Conference down there. I think I saw a game last year in football, and this has nothing to do with basketball, but the score of the game was like 71-65. Their basketball team doesn't score 71 points.
Yeah.
And so people like entertainment. Entertainment is scoring. And I'm wondering in hockey, which is a wonderful game. I love hockey, but you have to be there in person. Are they going to make the net bigger so people can score more?
Or 4-on-4.
Yes.
I worry sometimes it's too much.
Yes.
When we have, the NFL, it's all about scoring. It used to be about defense, would win championships. Also, these guys are all friendly. Were you ever friendly with anybody you played against? Like Oscar Robertson or Clyde Frazier or?
No. When the game was going on, I despised them. After the game, I had great respect for them. And more importantly, I appreciated their skill. But today, these kids start playing against each other when they're in AAU basketball. kids from California can be friends with kids in New York, Florida. They get to know each other. And Miami had a real unique situation a few years ago. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh all get together. And my best guess is they said, we're going to go play to Miami. I don't care how much you talk to people. There has to be some reason that players of that caliber come together because they want to play with each other. They like each other. They still communicate with each other. One of the things that's most shocking in my life, because players didn't interact off the court then, was that Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell used to have dinner together a lot. And if you would look that, they would say disparaging things about Wilt and talk about how great Russell is, and they thought they did not like each other. But they were one of the first two that would ever do that. And I will tell you that when they played against each other, you never saw it. But I would not want to do that as an athlete. I just, to me, don't sleep with the enemy, okay?
What's Kobe do? What's he do now?
I think it's going to be a real challenge for him to find something that's competitive for him to use his mind. He's a smart guy, okay? He is smart. And knowing him, I think with the trend with players today, he seems to like things that are much different than most athletes. I think he has a great interest in the movie business. Now, I don't speak to him anymore because I work for another team, and I don't think you should ever tamper or even be a friend with him. And so I really don't know what he's doing, but his career was a career for the decades. You just don't see players come along that often who left a giant footprint, not only here in Los Angeles, but throughout the world in basketball. Michael Jordan-esque, so to speak. But I would have no idea. But I know someone who's competitive as him. He's going to have to find something that he can really focus on. Otherwise, Dan, it's a miserable transition for players who have done something at a very high level. It's miserable. Today, players are very comfortable because they make so darn much money. And yet, you want to be productive. You want to find something that whets your appetite. And for me, I got an incredible opportunity because of Jerry Buss to do something that probably I wasn't qualified to do. But I did feel that if I had an advantage, it was because I had played and I had coached. And I think it helped me understand how important it is to have a coach, give him talent, and more importantly, after that, to have the right players to work with that coach.
It's always great to see you. And I know you're short on sleep, and especially after a loss as well. You're grinding over the loss last night, but thank you again. Your kindness, generosity is never lost on us. We appreciate it.
Well, Dan, it's always a pleasure. As I say, I don't watch all sports shows. People scream and holler too much. You have fun with your job, but more importantly, your content is far and above the others. Always great to see you, and I don't know how long I'm going to be around this world, but I'm always happy to spend time with you. I appreciate it.
If you had a supporting cast like I had when you played, Jerry, how many championships would you have?
0.
Yeah. Yeah. See? That's why Jerry was such great talent evaluator there. He just proved it.
Well, but you know what? These guys, they never say anything. A bunch of dummies sitting over here.
That's what I like.
Do you press a button and they talk?
Yes. Yeah, it's like you pull a string there.
That's right.
They have strings in their backs. I just pull it and then they talk.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.